Hey, it's Jack. Welcome to my virtual hour, not mine, our Sunday night virtual cocktail hour. I know that you've given me some ideas for a better name for the show. So if you got something, I'm all ears. What are you drinking tonight? Just like it says on the banner. Like I can't ask him that. You have to put that up. Yes. What are you drinking tonight? Because it is our time together to have a cocktail, to get things off your chest, to make comments, ask questions, anything you want to talk about. I do another show or two, and those are more specific. That's the High Road on Friday nights, 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, and that's about my journey through cannabis and medicinal cannabis and CBD and everything else. Uh-oh, sounds like my microphone off. How about that? Let's start over. Is that better? That's way down, way low. Is that okay? I got a message from my producer. Why don't you write on there if that's okay? Am I still overmodulated? Oh my goodness. Hope you guys didn't go away. Still no message. Yusuf, tell me, is that okay or is it still bad? Anyway, so we go. Oh, it's way low. It's as low as it gets. Anyway, thanks for joining me. If you have a name for the show, let me know. If you want to tell me what you're drinking, also let me know. If you have any questions about anything, oh, like I said, the other show, The High Road, Friday nights, we talk about that, which is CBD and medicinal THC for people who have benefited from that, from the medicinal use thereof. And then, of course, there's Belly Up, which is a game show where we have a drink, but that's contestant driven, really. This is your time with my Hollywood glass because it's Shag the artist. I love that guy. Take a look at that. There we go. And so, what am I drinking? If I'm asking you, I should tell you what I'm drinking, right? Okay. So, how's that? Is that any better? The gain is way down on that microphone. Hope you can still hear me. I'll try to go down here a little bit so it's not as bad. This is it's just muffled. Wow. I don't understand. Why is the microphone blown? That's what happens when we go live. Right. Yeah. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3. Still muffled? I don't know. It was fine when we tested. Geez, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's happening. Can we fix that? Let me see here. No, nothing at all. I don't know. Let me try to fix it for you. Okay. Okay. Let me see here. How about that? Is that any better? We're going to go through these things. Technical issues. How about the top? 1, 2, 3, 4. Which one do you choose? Yusuf? Okay. Anyway, looks like you're not going to. Only slightly not sure what it is. Okay, so I guess we're gonna scrap this show. You're not gonna be able to hear me. And you give me a count, Yusuf, when it gets a little better. Anyway, so here's what we're talking about. This Sunday night thing is just a chance to come on and say hello. Nothing more than that. But if you have something on your mind, something you want to get off your chest, anything you want to ask me, please do, and we'll try to get to. I know a lot of times the questions go unanswered because we get a lot of them, and the comments go unsaid because we'll get a lot of those too, and the list goes on. So we're going to spend a couple of minutes right now trying to do that. If there are any, I don't know if you can even understand what I'm saying because my producer said the mic is muffled. In any event, got any questions? Any comments you want to put up there, Yusuf? Hello, Max from Bolivia. Oh, hello. It's Jack, actually, but I'll take Max. I've been called a lot worse, even today. From Bolivia. Wow, thank you for watching. Like Homer Simpson, beer is the best, says Jen Brick. XOXO. Oh, that's very nice. Thank you. Effing black cherry vodka on the rocks. Ross. Yeah, when we going to Poland, Ross? He and his wife love to dance. And it's an inside joke. Well, not too inside. We talked about it on the show. New name for the show, Wine and Dine with Jack Maxwell, says Nathaniel Lawrence. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, Nathaniel. Not really dining. And then, you could say, hey, false advertising. Where's the food part of the show? Cynthia Wheaton, Fetus Wine, is that how you say that? Cynthia Wheaton Whiteman? Good stuff. Anybody else out there? Uncle Nearest 1856, says Todd Moore. Caipirinha, from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Vanessa, thank you. I love caipirinha, as you know, from Booze Traveler. I fell in love with not only Brazil, but caipirinha. Keep it in mind. So let me tell you about this drink. This is gin and ruby red grapefruit juice and lime. We call it, I guess, for lack of a better name, the Calogero Special. A friend of mine, Charlie Chaluch Lagrasso, South Boston, Massachusetts. Salute came up with this little thing, and it's very refreshing. As he says, it's good for the summer, but you can drink it all year round. So the closer you are to the mic, the better. FYI, it's helping, says Yusuf, my producer, private message there. All right, so I'll try to get a little bit closer to the microphone. How's that? Any better? The problem is my face gets closer, and that's no good. Uh, I think it's supposed to have elderberry tonic water in there, so I might have messed it up. Sorry, Charlie. But the Calogero Special, thanks for that. It's good stuff. Some sort of bourbon tonight. Too many at the house to choose from, Brian Reed. Oh, what a problem to have. Too many bourbons. Wow. Drinking some rum punch, says Catherine. Oh, well, hello, Catherine. I hope you're enjoying your rum punch. Anyone else? Looking good in blue, by the way. Thumbs up. You don't have to say that. Tell me about the drinks. Christina Miller. Hi, Jack. First time with you tonight. Well, welcome in. Thank you. Do you have a drink? You don't have to have a drink, by the way, to join the show. If you do, though, it makes the show better for you. Anyway, me too. Julie Blakely Campbell, California Cab. Yum. Nice Cabernet? Yeah? Okay. I like that when I'm eating Italian food. Oh, a nice Chianti as well. Okay, so when I was a kid, my parents were divorced. And my father would come to pick me up sometimes. Most of the time, he wouldn't show up. But when he did, he would take me over to his place. I lived in South Boston. He lived in Somerville. And he would take me over there to play with my cousins. Little kid, well, up until we moved when I was almost 13, 12 and change anyway. So I'd go to Somerville, and my cousin and I, we would play street hockey, basketball, whatever we could take, throw the ball off the wall of the project, the building, anything, just to get out, do something that had to do with sports or activity. And one of the things we like to do, we walked down to this the pool at a place called Foss Park, as I used to say, Foss Park in Somerville. And they had two pools. One, the kind of a shallow one where everybody would hang out. And then there was the deep, high dive pool. It wasn't really high dive, though. It was somewhere between high dive and low, maybe right in the middle. Just a little bit bigger than a regular diving pool, but it was up a bit. Or I was a kid and I was short, either one. Anyway, that water was so cold and so deep. Maybe it's 10 foot. I don't know, something like that. 10 feet deep, I think. And it was, I felt like a big kid when I finally got to do that. Or no one stopped me from doing it. I guess I stopped myself. My fear of the water being so cold and so deep. And I wasn't the strongest swimmer when I was a kid. So one time, to prove to myself that I could do it, you're supposed to dive down and then swim to the side, and then the next person goes. There's a long line, usually. I don't know why. It wasn't that great or anything, but it was the only diving pool. The other one didn't have one, the other pool. It was huge, the other one. Huge, long pool. But you just waded around and sat in it. And it was a public pool and some of them. So one time I dove down, and I said I was going to touch the bottom. And I dove down 2, 3, 4 feet, 5 feet. My head started pounding. The pressure of the water was caving my head in. It felt like my ears started hurting. 6, 7 feet. I didn't know where I was. I couldn't see. It was maybe kind of murky, or I didn't open my eyes. And I thought, what do I do? Do I turn around? Is that the thing to do? Turn around right now? But will I make it to the top? Because if I keep going, I'll have the satisfaction of knowing that I did this thing I set out to do. And I could maybe propel myself off the bottom of the pool and then shoot up 8 feet, 9 feet. Of course, I didn't know at the time. It felt like 15 or 20 feet. And I thought, I'm going to drown. I don't know how to swim all that well. And my head is just, am I going to pass out? Am I going to black out from the pressure on my head? What's going on? And then I just kept doing it. My lungs were about to burst, I thought. And I touched the bottom, and I turned around and pushed off. And I didn't get it the best push. And I just started swimming as hard and fast as I could to the top of the surface. And just as I was getting there, I think I gulped too soon to get air. My mouth opened, it was filled with water. I got to the top and I was gasping, and everyone's looking at me. I didn't need medical attention or anything like that, but clearly I did something I shouldn't have done, or at least they thought so. But I was happy that I did it in the end, even though my lungs were burning, my eyes were hurting because I opened them on the way up. But I did it. I touched the bottom. I don't know if that was the smartest thing to do, which brings us to the subject matter of tonight's show. Hello, Jack from Boise. Hey, Rob. Hi. Hi, big guy. Cindy Cole with a cat emoji. Okay, hello to you. So here's what I'm talking about. As you know, this is generally speaking a lighthearted hour together. We have a drink, we talk, comment, we have fun. You make fun of me and my jacket, saying I'm look too much like Don Johnson. I did that once, and because you had so much fun with it, I said I'm going to do it as often as I can, but not every week. That would be overkill. Anyway, the subject matter at hand is like this pool to me. Should we even dive down into it? Should we go down that rabbit hole? Should I keep going now that I'm already talking about it and try to get to the bottom of things and then push off? And at the end, maybe I'll be happy about it? Or is the pressure going to be too much? Is it going to change how this is done from now on? I don't know. Because it's never a good idea when you're doing something like this to disguise it as something else. It is what it is, as they say. Just a conversation. Questions, comments, me and you having a drink, nothing more than that. But something happened this week I wanted to share with you. As you know, I try to be open and honest, and you can see from my Instagram posts or my Twitter, I don't know if you follow me, it's at Southie Jack, SOUTHIEJACK on Twitter and Instagram. If you're watching this on YouTube, because it's simulcast on both YouTube and Facebook, please join me on Facebook, follow me, and I'll follow you back if I can, or friend request me. And if you're watching this on Facebook, subscribe to my YouTube channel, because there's a lot of things over there that will be nowhere else. There you go. That's my answer. Southie Jack, I guess. So, here's the thing. This week, I was talking to a friend of mine, and that sounds like the beginning of a Tom Petty song. I was talking to a friend of mine, and after a few pleasantries, and I've known this guy a long time, we started on this long rant, maybe half an hour before I got a word in edgewise. At some point, I knew, because we've been friends not for years, but for decades, that he had to get something off his chest. Now, because I have seen him make this turn in the last 4 years, it was very much a political rant. And he was upset about things. Safe to say, without trying to divulge too much, because this is not about politics, this discussion. It's about friendship and how it's seen after you have a political discussion. Or with some people, how they will no longer be your friend if you don't think exactly like they do. This is what I'm talking about. This is basically the nature of the subject at hand. He then made it personal towards the end, because I wasn't agreeing with him. Although I was not disagreeing, I was just listening. We should do more of that, shouldn't we? So he's ranting, and then he starts making it personal, saying how I believe this, I believe that. I don't see it his way. And I say, well, how do you know? Because you haven't asked me exactly. You're telling me how, what you think I think. Why not ask me? Why not get into a discussion? And he told me he didn't really want to talk about it, because I was the only person left in his life who was on the other political side, the other end of the political spectrum. And I'm no extremist. Let's say he believes very adamantly one way. And as it became more personal, I thought there's more to it. Maybe something in our friendship was amiss. Maybe I was not being a good friend. Had I not reached out? No, we talk all the time. So I'm not quite sure exactly. Let's hold some of those drink comments while I get into this, because I don't want people to think I'm ignoring them because they're up on the screen. But this is very important. We'll get back to those in a minute here. told you it's going to be a different kind of show. With my friend, he started then pushing me, saying, "You believe this? You don't think that's good?" And framing it in a way that you couldn't really agree with him because it was so extreme, this particular viewpoint. At the same time, he made me sound like I was crazy if I didn't believe what he was saying. But it wasn't factual. The argument wasn't truthful. It was, uh, again, I don't want to make this political. He was saying things that just they weren't true. So and telling me what I believed that certainly was not true. So again, I said, wait a minute. You don't talk to anybody on the other side who doesn't believe what you believe. No, there's no point. There's no use. But wait a minute. Does that include me? We've been friends decades. Like I said, it doesn't matter. You're the only one. But then he started getting, again, making things a little personal. Not that it hurt my feelings. Again, I understood he's probably going through something, and he's certainly passionate, and he's a smart guy. He's very eloquent. Although he's been a blue collar worker his whole life, he's he's I wouldn't say he's certainly no. I mean, he only went to high school, but he's very eloquent in what he says, and he's very smart. And you can be very smart, of course. You read third grade education and be smart. So it's not as if he's just some dummy spouting off political dogma. He knows how to present his case, but it was full of vitriol this time. And I thought, well, I'm going to ask him again. Is there something else this is about? And then, based on what he said, I said, wait a minute, let me make sure we're clear on this. We've been friends a long time. Are you saying? And he says, yes, it's the only way. And the part I left out was, he says, the only way for America to get back to where it was, to the place that it should be, is a civil war. I couldn't believe it. Very few things shocked me. But because I thought I knew my friend, I was shocked. I was surprised and even hurt. Because after that, I said, well, if you're calling for a civil war, that means there are probably going to be millions of people killed. And he said, that's just the way it has to be. Because we're just falling apart as a nation and blah, 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 blah. So wait a minute. That means me. I'm on the other side. Are you advocating for my death? I don't understand. And is there anything about this side of the equation that's okay? Like, for instance, don't you believe in being able to peacefully protest? He said, nobody's doing that. No one's peacefully protesting. Not one. Give me an example. I said, well, there are tons of peaceful protests every night, of course. Maybe they don't make the news like the violent ones. And I'm against the violent ones. I don't think we should destroy property, burn buildings or cars or graffiti or break windows. No, you cannot do that. That's breaking the law. But I understand people have to get stuff off their chest. They have to protest if that's how they feel. And by the way, you're supposed to be able to do that. He said, name one. I said, okay, how about Colin Kaepernick? He took a knee. That was wrong. Why is it wrong? It's peaceful protest. You might not agree with it, of course. That's disrespecting the flag, he said. Well, he says it's not for that. He doesn't mean to disrespect the flag. As a matter of fact, he used to sit down during the national anthem, and then a veteran said, if you take a knee, it's more respectful. So he took a knee. He is, I think, according to him, protesting racial inequality and police brutality. That's what he says, Colin Kaepernick. He doesn't do it anymore because he doesn't have a job. And my friend said he has to be dealt with harshly. Well, he's already lost his job. What else? You mean he should be shot? Well, yeah, he's not helping America. You just called for civil war. That's treason. I think, I don't know the Constitution all that well, but if you call for breaking up of the country to secede from the nation, I believe that's treason. I don't care if that's what it takes. So wait a minute, you're against the protester who kneels peacefully, but you want to break up the country. I don't understand that. And he got mad at me, and I was being calm, and he was getting very hyped up. And then we haven't spoken since. He said he had to go, and that was it. And that really surprises me about this guy. Like I said, I've known him a long time. And I know that's his political leanings, at least the last 4 years. And that's okay. We should be able to have differences and be able to speak about those. If we don't engage, what good are we? Because if we just cut off the other side, and again, both sides I'm talking about now, because I know people on my side who won't talk to anybody on the other side as well. I understand that. This example happens to fall the other way because I would never cut off my friend for what he believes. I wouldn't advocate it or advocate for it. I wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't say that's right, that's good, that's the way it is. I'd still vote the way I vote, no matter what he said or how he pleaded. But I'd be there for him. If he asked me to show up on a street corner in the middle of the night, I'd do that. Because that's how I feel. I love my friend. And I would do that for him. And I think he'd do it for me. But maybe maybe not anymore. After this conversation, would he do it for me? I'd still do it. And it doesn't make me a hero or a martyr or anything like that. I just don't have that same, I guess, kind of that angst inside me about the other side. I do for many things, what's happening to the country. We're pretty much, I'm sure, I guess, we can all agree that we're not in the 80% of the country. Recent polls said, and I'm not big on quoting polls, but said the country's going in the wrong direction. 80%. That's a lot. Higher than normal, higher than usual, higher than anything I've ever seen in my life, I think, since Nixonian days. But because he was so mad and so upset, I figured maybe it'd blow over and I'd get on, he'd call me, he'd text. And I don't want to reach out to him because he might still be upset and might be sensitive and might see it as goading. I think it's so important to be able to have friends who are on the other side. I believe now we are more divided politically than we've ever been in my lifetime, even back in Nixon days. I don't understand uh, the idea, though, because we're divided, to call for a civil war. I don't get it. That means people are going to die by the scores. And maybe he was just mad. But I know him. If he calmed down, he would have called me and said, all right, I didn't mean that. And he knows I do a show, and everything's open here. We can talk about anything all the time. And just like diving into that pool, I'm not sure we should keep going with this, but I'm going to now. When I was thinking about this, I had to get it off my chest. I want to run it by you. You tell me what you think. Is it okay to lose a lifelong friend? And I'm not sure that we're not friends, but certainly right now, it could go either way. Is it? If they don't believe what you believe politically, you could say that about religion. What if someone was a different religion or a different skin color? I mean, it should be basing, for me, I'd like to base how I feel about people on their actions, not what they look like, not what they believe, what they think. You should be able to do that. But if you rant and rave and you make it obvious, like this guy I'm talking about, my friend, is no racist. He's never said a racist thing, and I've known him decades, like I said. He's not a homophobe, but he's pretty adamant about his political beliefs, and he is a supporter of that side no matter what. Whatever has happened in the last 4 years, that might be, let's say, not to the credit of his side, he defends no matter what. I never understood that political argument that no matter what, the other side is worse. Uh, so I probably could have predicted that it would get to the point where now he doesn't talk to anyone on his side, including me. So when I was thinking about that, I thought about bringing that up as a discussion. I thought it might be too heavy, might be too much pressure, like diving into that pool. But at the same time, why not? Because I have another friend that I've known for decades. I love this guy. His whole family, actually. Every year they have this really wonderful, it feels like family reunion because they have such a big family. They have a great Christmas Eve party at my friend's place. I'm actually closer with his brother because we used to hang around all the time. We used to work together. But I love the whole family. And this friend of mine, before I bring him on, let me tell you his story. He grew up in a poor neighborhood in Phoenix, right here where I am now. It's even poorer still. To a family that's good family, but the father wasn't around. Certainly not as often as he should be. So the mother, who is a saint, raised 7 kids on her own. That's tough. And only one of them was a girl. 6 boys, 1 girl on her own, and she did the best she could. Hardworking, walk to the bus stop, take a bus to work, come back, take care of her kids, cook for them, and she always had a smile on her face. To this day, she's still around, thankfully. She's just a wonderful person. I really admire her because that was not easy. When I was a kid, I didn't know. I'd go over there, I'd eat. I was clueless to the fact that that's another mouth to feed, but I just loved hanging around with that family. So the guy you're about to meet was a stud football player in high school, and therefore he was close to his coach. And this coach treated him like a son. And I'm sure for my friend, this was very welcome because, like I said, his father wasn't around enough. And they grew close. They would exchange Christmas gifts. And it was really nice to see that this older guy that was doing much better than my friend and his family would reach down and by that I mean economically, reach down and just take the kid under his wing and or under his wing and try to coach him up and make him a better football player and a better person. And I know my friend admired that in this coach, and therefore they became really, really close friends. My friend, who was a good football player, like I said, a quarterback, went on to receive a college scholarship to play football. That's how good he was. And I know he still, to this day, gives a lot of credit to that coach. Not all of it, but a lot of it. So in 2016, as you know, Donald Trump was elected president. The coach was on one side of that equation, and my friend is on the other. And I don't want to tell the story. I want him to be able to tell the story, but the exact same thing that happened to me. Not exactly, of course. So the thing that happened with me and my friend was the latest example of intolerance and saying, I will not be your friend because I don't believe like you do or you don't believe like me. My friend, who you're about to meet, Isaac Aguirre, he was the very first example of that. Happened, I think, right after the election, or soon thereafter anyway. And they got into this huge disagreement, first on Facebook and then over the phone, and they were cursing, and I don't know who was doing what. So I said there was cursing and bad feelings, got wife involved and other friends. It was horrible. Only about their political beliefs. That's it. And now they're not friends. Years later, 2 people who were so close simply over political beliefs. And this isn't about whose fault it is. It's about the intolerance that we live with now, that it's okay to shun the other, whatever that is. It doesn't matter whether it's a color, whether it's LGBTQ, whether it's a woman, just because someone is different from you. Why would you want to be? It's antithetical to the survival of the human race to not be social or sociable, to not make friends and pacts with people, to live in peace. Are we that spoiled? Are we that stupid? Are we regressing that much that we're willing to not only not be friends with someone, but to turn them into an enemy simply for what they believe politically? Now, I looked around and asked someone on my friend's political side, on the coach's political side, to come on, but I couldn't find it. And that's okay. Again, this is not about politics. I don't care what you believe. Should you lose a friend, or would you exclude a close friend over politics? This is what we'll talk about the time we have left, which is about half an hour. I need another drink. Say hello to Isaac Aguirre.
Hi, Jack. Thanks for having me on. Is my voice coming through okay? Okay.
He's a wise guy. First of all, Yusuf, come on, Yusuf. Come on. How's this mic? Is it any better?
Everybody's sounding good now. I don't know what we did. Even you sound good now, Jack.
When did my mic get fixed? How far into it?
The moment Isaac joined us.
Really? And before that, it was overmodulated?
It was just a little muffled, but we could hear you. So
Okay, we got to work on that. Anyway, all right, thanks. That's Yusuf, everybody. He's my producer this week and last week as well, filling in for Ken. All right, Isaac, you heard most of that rant, I'm sure.
I did. Yeah.
What are you drinking? Let's
am
start off slow.
drinking,
What are you drinking?
Your drink that you talked about last week, the Dark and Stormy. I'm having it for the first time. Very good.
Well, I made it a little differently. I used spiced rum instead of dark rum, but you got the ginger beer and the lime?
Yes, and I went with just a regular dark rum. It's good. Love it.
I'm glad I inspired you. I'm drinking the Calogero Special. So I met Isaac. He was a teenager. I was probably 15 or 16. He was my friend's brother, and now we've become close friends as well. Tell us the story about you and the coach, because this is so sad and infuriating, but it needs to be told.
Yeah, so I was coming home after work one day, and I opened up my laptop in the kitchen. My wife's making dinner, and it was during the time of some of the police shootings that were going on a few years back, and I don't know, yeah, right around the election, and he posted a simple enough post in his mind. I'm with the cops. Who's with me? And in support of blue, type of Blue Lives Matter type of deal. And he's getting lots of support on his Facebook page about his post. And I just said, hey, coach, it's not that we're against cops. Most cops are good, but we need to do something about racist cops, power hungry cops, etc. And for me, which is very reserved. Normally, I'm just as guilty as anybody because I just don't have the patience and have a short fuse. And I'm to blame with, all your examples that you talked about earlier. I'm thinking about it, check, that's me. It's things that I need to work on. But so I was pretty reserved in my comment out of my respect to my coach, my lifelong friend. But then the comments that came afterwards were just horrible. They were, the hatred, it's just coming at me. And like I said, short fuse Isaac came out, and I'm just, giving it right back to them along with statistics to prove that what I'm saying is correct. And it went back and forth, not with Coach. Coach wasn't even on Facebook at the time, but just with some of his followers, his nephew, a couple other teachers from my old high school, and then just a lot of his Facebook friends. And of course, I use humor as well. So I'm making fun of them and calling them Archie Bunker and this, that, and the other, and just kind of just toying with them. And finally, later on that evening, he finds out, probably somebody called him or texted him and told him, do you know what's going on your Facebook page? And so he goes on, he texts me and he says, here's what you're going to do. You're going to get on my thread and you're going to apologize and say, what a good, about our friendship. And I said, well, coach, one, I'm not 18 years old anymore. And that's not going to happen. If you're waiting for an apology, it's just not going to happen. And two, if you read the thread, you would see that I've already talked about our relationship and the fact that I don't know where I would be if you didn't come into my life and take me under your wing. Here we are, a white football coach, a Mexican high school football player with a huge chip on his shoulder. And he really did it. You said it perfectly. He was a father figure to me, and he took me under his wing. He taught me how to be a man and everything. And just like that, in one fell swoop, the relationship was gone because I wasn't going to apologize. And he was no longer going to be my friend for what I said on that thread.
How long ago was that?
Right after the Ferguson shootings. I don't know. It seems like it's been a little bit longer than the 16 election.
So between then and now, have you communicated with him at all? Has there been any reparations made?
So no, he said the friendship's over if I don't apologize on the thread. And I told him I'm not going to. A few years ago, another player of his, a good friend of mine, reached out to me, and he had been trying to mend, heal the relationship between them. He was the go-between, talking to him, talking to me. And he called me out of the blue one day and he said, Isaac, I just got off the phone with Coach. He said that it was all a big misunderstanding. He regrets the whole situation. And, he doesn't want us to not be friends. I couldn't get off the phone fast enough with my buddy to say, I'm going to call Coach. And I did. I called him. No answer. That's okay. People are busy. He was working. I left a voicemail. Later on that day, I text him, and the text didn't get no response to the text. The next morning, I said, maybe something's going on. Emailed him, nothing. Later on that day, another call, and then no answer to any of the above. And then I realized he was just placating my friend to get him off his back. And to this day, nothing. I saw him at an awards dinner from my high school district, an alumni deal, and we didn't talk. It's horrible. It was gut wrenching. Yeah.
Did you just stare at each other? How does that go?
Nah, I think it was one of those side eye deals where, I go, oh, there's Coach, and he probably did the same. And I went and sat at my table with my buddies, and he never came up to the table. Some of my buddies went over to him and, to say hi during the evening. But no, it was awkward for sure.
Let's clear this up too. I mean, he was not just a football coach. He was a mentor, a friend, a father figure, certainly responsible for your development as a quarterback and as a young man. But whatever you said, whatever it was that he asked you to apologize for, because of course we don't know all of the details, it's just hard to believe that he would say, that's it, we're not friends anymore. And like I said, there's a lot of obscenities, a lot of bad feelings. Sometimes you say things that you're really embarrassed about. But all these years later, still 2, 3, 3.5, whatever it's been, you're still not talking.
Not talking, no. And listen, I'm as much to blame with all my arguments on Facebook. It's one of those things where I keep telling myself I'm going to get better. And Jack, it's strange that social media now, it's like you can read people's minds. They're telling you things that they would never tell you before, that you wouldn't know about them before. And I don't know if we were better off before social media or we're better off knowing now what they believe in. But yeah, I was just as guilty for what happened during that thread. And I take responsibility for that, but no, he's the one that forged ahead with the, listen, if you don't apologize, we're not friends anymore. And
here's the thing. You've reached out to him. You called him, you texted him. You certainly would entertain a phone call from the coach or a conversation, at least talk about it. Yes?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's the difference to me. It doesn't matter what you believe. We're trying to, although it's impossible to completely disguise which side of the political equation I'm on, my friend is on, you're on, the coach on, because it's not about that. At least you're willing to talk to him about it, because friendships are more important, I think, than the political divide. It doesn't mean that you have to be best buddies if you're so diametrically opposed. I get it. but to put the intolerance, the hate, even you could say that to use obscenities, to say, to talk down about that person to other people, to force you into an apology. And like you said, your fault as well, because you engage with my friend. I mostly listened because not because I'm a better person, but because I knew there was something on his chest, and it was a one-time thing. We didn't go back and forth and all of that. But I just think it's a shame that we've gotten to this point now, such divisiveness, that we say, forget it. It's really like it's red, blue, conservative, liberal, north, south, whatever you want to say. It's the worst I've ever seen, and it makes me sad. In the middle of a pandemic and economic unrest and everything else, it's the last thing we need. And I just don't understand. So I have to ask you, would you then, whether it's the coach or someone else, would you cut off a friend who was completely different on the political side and say, I can't be your friend anymore just for what you believe? Would you do that ever?
No, it's funny that you say that. So what I've noticed, and it's probably happened more organically with some of my friends that do not have the same beliefs that I do, we have chosen to just not speak about them at all. And we found a way to just avoid them altogether, which is good. Or we've just agreed that we're going to be different, and that's okay. There is a caveat to that. I would say if someone is going to be is just going to say, hey, listen, I believe in this real hateful ideology, and I'm not, I have every right as an American to do that or whatever. I guess you do, but then I would say enough is enough. There is a line for sure.
I agree. If somebody said to me, hey man, we've been friends for a while, but I just want you to know I'm a member of the KKK and the neo-Nazis, and we want to invite you Friday night. We're going to have a cookout, and we're going to hang as many black people as we can. Do you want to come? Not only would I say no, I'd say, that's it. I can't be your friend. What are you? That's crazy, hateful, stupid. And I'm using an extreme example, of course, but I know there are people out there who are shocked by the friends. See, you brought up a good point. Is social media helpful in that now it's this stream of consciousness thing? Somebody wakes up, they scratch their ass, they say, I did that. That's they want to tell us everything about everything. I ate a banana, I took my dog for a walk, I took a shower. And it's fine. It's not like I create this wonderful content. But here's why I think it's a good thing, Isaac. Because sunshine is the best disinfectant. I want to know who my friends are. I want to understand what they're thinking if they want to share it that way. I would never, I guess, really pry into their political lives, because that doesn't matter. But if someone is that hateful, I'd like to know who my friends are, because it's that whole thing where someone you don't know who's kind of sketchy, or someone you do know, says, hey, can you drive me to the 7-Eleven? And they rob it and jump in the car, and you're the accomplice. You can't say I only drove him there. You're an accomplice, an accessory to the crime. I want to know that. Now, if they posted on social media, I'm going to rob a 7-Eleven, and you saw it, this you would know. Then you could avoid it. See? So I think it's a good thing. It's not always a great thing, of course. And it's created a lot of fights and a lot of problems. And I'm certainly sad about that. But I'd like to understand what people think about that. We're going to open it up to questions and comments. Yusuf, do we have any? And by the way, there's someone that I told you about earlier. His name is Paul Aguirre. He's Isaac's brother. And he not recently, but he found out that he has a friend he's very close to that is completely on the other side of the political equation. And they're still friends. And like Isaac said, they just decided not to talk about it. They can't see how the other side sees it the way they do. And for the record, same with me. I have friends who are on the political side, the opposite political side. I'm sorry, I was distracted by the comment. And we're still friends. We just don't talk about it. Or we talk about it in a way where we joke around a little bit, because I see the merits to some of what they're saying. But the overall concept, I just cannot buy into. And I am just so not on that side. Let's
So
get some.
here's the deal, Jack. Let me say this. I have seen racism my entire life. I'm Mexican American, like you mentioned earlier, first generation. My parents were born in Mexico, but I guess a lot of people don't look at me and see a Hispanic, a Mexican person when they see me at the doctor's office, in a classroom, out and about. And so I've almost been like a fly on the wall, or a secret agent, where I've been able to see racism my entire life. I'm 55 years old. And so I've seen people say the most racist, hateful things, thinking I'm going to join in. And so because of that, I have this huge chip on my shoulder that doesn't help me at all, because the second, at some point in my life, I just finally said, I'm calling out hatred, anything, no matter what it is, right away. A stranger on an elevator or anything, I'm just not going to take it. And, that goes for social media as well. There's, I had one friend post, this is a grade school and high school friend of mine, that posted something many years ago in support of the Confederate flag. And I went ballistic, because I know the history. He doesn't. He probably read an article just that it has something to do with Southern pride and history, and he didn't know the true meaning. And once again, here I am, equally at fault for just going off on him without saying, I could have been more rational and said, hey, blank person, this is why this isn't a good post, because this is what the flag stands for. This is what it is and everything. And I didn't. I just went ballistic.
What happened? You're not friends with him anymore?
Not friends with him. Listen, Jack, I have lost so many friends over social media. It's crazy. And listen, some of them were people that I was friends with in grade school, high school, college, that I was friends with in work settings over the years and everything. So it's not like people that I hang out with, that I see a few times a year or anything like that. They were just social media friends. But then some are lifelong friends, like Coach, and like this guy that posted about the Confederate flag, that I love dearly. And social media has put an end to that.
And to clear that up, it was friends you love dearly, not the Confederate flag. So I think that, with the passing of John Lewis, and other people who are, just suffered greatly in the cause of racial equality. I think if you don't call out racism, you're part of the problem. I really believe that if you see something, it's our obligation as humans, never mind how any other label you want to put on it, just as humans. If there's something wrong, we have to right it. It doesn't mean we have to go putting out all the fires across the country. But if you see something, you have to stick up for somebody who maybe can't, or is just in a position where they could use a friend or an advocate. Again, to steer away from the political, I was with a friend having lunch at an outdoor cafe. All of a sudden I hear, bang, really loud. I just jumped out of my seat and followed the sound. There was a car accident at the intersection. There was an elderly lady who was hurt, and a guy who was driving who was all upset because maybe the way she drove, but they were T-boned, and wanted to make sure everybody's okay. And I didn't have my phone. I left it at the table. So I asked somebody to call 911 to get help. I think you have to respond. I think you have to do it without thinking. I don't think you can make a political calculation. It's the same thing. Someone might have been hurt by this action, and it was my job, and my instinct said so, to do something about it. I don't understand how when it comes to politics or something from a political side, if it's wrong and you feel it's wrong, not only are you obligated to say something about it, I think that's my personal belief. I think you should be able to without someone saying, I'm not your friend anymore, especially if it's about injustice.
I agree 100%. Some things are it's not a matter of your take on something. Some things are, they're simple as black and white. Something's right or wrong. And if it's wrong, you need to speak out. You need to stand up. I agree 100%.
Hey, by the way, I don't mind if somebody says your political argument sucks. You're on the wrong side, this, that, whatever. Okay. I mean, I'll come back with you because I'm armed with facts. I pay attention to things. I think I'm at some point fairly eloquent about what I believe in, certainly, even though I'm not the smartest guy in the world. So if you want to come at me, we'll come back. But then we'll shake at the end. We'll have a drink. Don't say, I hate your guts. You should die. I think there should be a civil war. I want to shoot you. That's not going to solve any problems. Because at some point, let's say you eliminate the other side of the political equation. You just have your peeps. That's it.
Yeesh.
Then what is it going to be? It's going to be, I don't like them because they're not as extreme. So let's get rid of that half and let's just hang with these guys. And then no, let's just narrow it down to this. And then there's nothing left. We're going to kill ourselves as a race. We're not going to be around. This is ridiculous to me. Yusuf, there has to be a question or a comment about this subject of this conversation. Let's see it. Let's take all comers. I like my friendship like I like my ice. Crystal clear, says Victor Landy. All right, that's great. You should know exactly. Or if not, at least respect the other side. Jimmy Stewart, a conservative, and Henry Fonda, liberal, were friends for a while and got into a big fight one day. They still remain friends, but they just didn't discuss politics. Gabriel Leon, thank you for that. Yes, okay, so we can disagree vehemently. We can say no. I mean, isn't that what America is about? Aren't we this great big melting pot that says we accept all comers? Right? The Statue of Liberty says that. It doesn't matter. Tired, poor, huddled masses. Doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. And by the way, I know we have problems. I know we just can't say to the world, everybody come here and we'll find a place. There has to be a system in place to deal with that. Of course, we have to look out for ourselves and for the people here who can't feed themselves, who can't clothe themselves. Does that mean everything has to be a huge government handout all the time and you have to give someone $1 million just because they ask for it? Of course not. But that doesn't, we don't have to go to the extremes. There has to be a way to work it out where we are better as a country. We're supposed to be the richest country in the world. I know we're a great country. I love the United States of America. I want to live here forever. I'm sure I will. But can't we be better? To call it out and to say things can be better. Why does that mean I hate my country? I had somebody say that. I said, let's try to be better. Why do you hate your country? It sounds like such a weak old 1980s argument from conservative talk radio. Why do you hate your country? I don't. Let's talk about the facts. Don't turn it into an ad hominem argument where you're attacking me. Attack my ideas and we'll talk about it. And again, I'm not the most political person, but if I see wrong, I will speak up. And I certainly don't want a civil war. That's for sure. Let's see that comment, Yusuf. What do we got? A. Jackson Wax. I agree with Isaac. In order to stop racist remarks, I've disclosed my Latino heritage to people I'd known for years just to receive these responses. You're not like a Mexican, though. That is really sad. You know, I've heard many people tell that story. My friend, I will not disclose his name in case he wants to keep this private, but he is a black man. And when people talk to him who are racist, but like him, they like him. They say, well, you're not one of those. You're not like that kind of black guy. What does that even mean? What, you don't speak like they do in the inner city? You're not a gang member? You don't like rap? What stereotype do you want to put on black people? Why are we doing that? Why are we saying Isaac's Mexican this guy's black, this guy's liberal, this is that. I'm not saying that labels should never apply. Certainly, if someone kills somebody unjustly, they're a murderer. I mean, sometimes labels work. But for the sake of us, first of all, isn't that the thing we should be doing? Trying to ensure the survival of the species. I don't think it's good to call for civil wars. I don't think it's best to push away and say the other doesn't belong, so let's take everything from them. I just don't understand it. I'm waiting for a comment for someone to correct me, to put me in my place, to say, Jack, you're so wrong about it, and here's why. Yusuf, if that comes, put that up there. Are there any questions? Or we can get back to drinks, by the way, because that's what this show is supposed to be out in the first place. I'm diving down the pool. I'm touching the bottom. I'm springing back up. What's that?
Ajax and Wax hit the nail on the head. He said it sounds like he's just like me. He's a light-skinned Mexican, and so I've heard that exact same comment. Oh no, I'm not talking about you. And then they absolutely are talking about me when they're saying something as hateful as what they're saying about a Hispanic that they see out in public. So thank you, Ajax and Wax, for that comment.
It's funny. It's not just America, by the way. I'm not spitting on my country. In India, the darker the skin, the worse they treat you, even if you're Indian. There's the caste system. And if you're so dark, you belong to a certain that level of society. You clean sewers and toilets and things like that. So I'm not saying it's an American problem, but I'm saying when it is a problem, we have to speak about it. Because, by the way, and again, this is not that I'm such a wonderful person. I'm certainly not. But I just never considered my friend Isaac or his family or his brother Paul, who I've been friends with even longer, Mexican. I just never thought of it that way. Here's the one time I think of you as Mexicans, Isaac, when your mother cooks Mexican food, because it's so good. And I don't know anybody who can cook like your mother when she makes her tamales. And I'd go over there and there'd be tortillas flipping on the stove. And I'm like, oh, this is so great. Because as a kid coming from Boston, we didn't have Mexican food back then. I'm sure they have great Mexican food there now. I know it. But moving to Phoenix in 1975 as a kid, and then it was a treat to be taken to a Mexican restaurant and to have chips and salsa that burned my mouth. Again, I was a teenager. And then your family invited me over, knowing that it's another, like I said, a mouth to feed, and we don't have money the way. I don't know how your mother did it. She's a miracle worker to feed everybody the way she did, and to put clothes on your backs and all that, and to welcome me in with open arms and say, sure, come in. You want this, you want some of that, and refried beans and rice and great food and tamales or carne asada and all of this stuff. And I just felt warmth. Isn't that what we should be looking for from anyone, whether they're different than us, white, Mexican, Irish, Italian, Mexican, liberal, conservative, black, white, whatever? It's the warmth we are willing to extend to the other side. I don't hate anybody. I disagree sometimes vehemently with a certain political belief in this country. Absolutely. But to hate them and to say they should be shot or dealt with harshly, or Isaac is less than because he's a Mexican, I just don't understand that. And it doesn't make me a better person. It would make me a better person if I did understand it and fought against it and rose above it. But I don't understand it. I don't hate people who are different than me. It's the way I was raised, I guess, all credit to my mother and grandmother. But why would you cut off the possibility of being friends with someone who's different, white, black, Mexican, liberal, conservative, red state, blue state? I don't get it. I don't get it. Someone out there, please educate me on this, because I don't understand it. And by the way, Isaac, I hope we're friends the rest of our lives. There's nothing you can do. Aloha from Honolulu. Thank you, Kev Rod. I appreciate that. Is there nothing of substance, Yusuf, questions or comments, anything at all about this conversation? My friend, says Mike McGrath, talked about having civil discourse, then twisted my words or called me a racist if I disagree with them. Certainly there's that. First of all, here's what I think. And I'm just saying this for me. Let's lower the temperature in the room. All right? Let's bring that down. Instead of throwing out names like basket of deplorables, racist, this, that. I picked one from each side, as you know. Why do that? That's only going to make someone super sensitive. And there's a saying, what you are is so loud that I cannot hear what you say. So if you do that, of course, someone's not going to be able to be open to what you're saying. They're not going to be receptive. Let's put our hand out first and say, I disagree with you, but let's find what we agree on. And this is not some rose-colored glasses, Pollyanna-ish, utopian look at it. It can be that way, or at least we should believe it can be. We can start out with that. If you put out your hand and somebody smacks you in the face, okay, game on. I get that. But I think many times, and I know this from traveling the world like I have, people are wary at first. But if you laugh with them, volunteer to have a drink with them, or to get to meet their family, or do something that they like to do, or just approach them with a smile, not a fist, things change. They really do. Because I think overall, we want to love and be loved. It's the greatest feeling on earth. So why then would we turn away those who might give us that satisfaction, to allow us to love them and to be loved back? I just don't understand. We're going to bring this to a close if we don't have any more. Pixie Lee, it feels like we stopped teaching society respect for each other and our differences. Yeah, I don't know where that happened. I don't know. So I'm going to challenge you. You don't have to do this. You probably won't, but I promise to. There's someone in your life you disagree with. In this case, because we're talking about two examples that fall along the political spectrum, there's someone in your life you disagree with politically. Call them this week and say, look, I was watching this stupid guy who was drinking. And he challenged me to do this. The only reason I'm doing it, but I disagree with you politically. I just want to say, hey, let's have a conversation. It doesn't have to be about politics, but I want you to know I respect you. I respect your ability to think for yourself and open up your mind about it. And you don't have to believe like me, but guess what? I just want you to know I'm here for you as a friend. Will you do that? I promise to. Isaac, how about you? You going to do that?
I will. I can't promise that it'll be my coach, but maybe it will. We'll see. Maybe it'll be the Confederate flag guy. We'll see.
Maybe it will be. We got a comment on that. Let's put that up there, Yusuf. Can we toast to global unity? What a way to go out. We're a couple minutes over the hour. I promise not to keep you too long. Isaac,
I love you, buddy.
Even though you're Mexican and you're not my blood, I love you and I always will. Cheers, my brother.
I love you, buddy. Cheers.
We got some people saying challenge accepted. We'll end it on that. Thanks. I'll see you next week right here on Jack's Place. Thanks for joining me. Thank you, Isaac and Gary, my brother from another mother, as they say. And here's to you. Cheers.